Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Feed Your Soul with Kim podcast. Today, we have a special guest, and she is a friend of mine. She is so enlightening and so wonderful. You're going to love listening to her. Her name is Jenell Garcia. And let me give you her bio, and then she can tell you more about herself. Let me see. Jenell is an esthetician of over 30 years of experience. She's a speaker and a bear certified coach. She specializes in skincare, but really what she believes is it's more about working with women to connect to themselves inside and out through personalized facials, coaching, and community experiences like her girlfriends, gatherings, and getaways group, which we will talk about. She creates a space for women to feel seen, supported, and empowered. Whether it's through a skincare ritual or a soul deep conversation, she helps women regulate their emotions, build confidence, and show up as their best selves with more ease and radiance. Dang, welcome, Jenell. Like that's
Wow.
dang.
I liked that. I'll have to get a
I,
copy of that.
I yeah, that actually you wrote this. So I just read it and I go, yeah,
I'm thinking
I
maybe
know
my
that's
assistant
true.
did. I don't know.
Well, Jenell, what did I miss? Is there anything we missed on the intro about you that kind of like you want to make sure everybody knows about you?
I think the biggest thing is that I do have a lot to share. I have made personal growth such a hobby, a habit,
Hmm.
and yet I think we need to be careful with personal growth too, because we are such a consumption
Mm.
society. And I'm I just want your audience to know that I'm practicing some things, yet I'm also aware that it can be very addicting and we have to kind of be a little critical of the self-help kind of personal growth because we can go down these rabbit holes and I think especially sometimes, we can feel a little superior about
Ooh.
this, oh, I'm working on myself. And
Yeah.
there's some loopholes. So I want to really emphasize that what I share has been work that has served me with relationships, not just as an entrepreneur, and absolutely my love for women and just like we were talking about, we're having our moment. And
So why women? So this is so interesting because that is your focus. Women, the feminine. Like maybe let's go there because I wonder why, why that, why now, what is that for you? And maybe I get the sense you have also kind of a global, a larger societal perspective. Like, what's your sense of all that?
well, I think that for me, the feminine fuel is like a movement for me. Like I would love for it to be a movement, and I think it's already happening. And again, I may not be sharing anything new, but hopefully it'll just be in a little different form that might spark some new thoughts. Yet, I think that with women and the whole feminine thing, first of all, I've been in this environment with women forever. So I hear the stories, the patterns are very similar. And yet we've kind of been over masculinized, I think you want to say, because of entrepreneurship, um, and the doing, and of course being in our heads. And for me, at 61, being an entrepreneur, a mother, a grandmother, I know that I've operated in this masculine mode for way too long. And I'm starting to feel that power of softness and that little bit of girly. And I don't use feminine lightly, I use it intentionally, not to exclude the male population.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I am intentional about the fact that our softness is not a liability, it's our leverage.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think there's space for all of the above. There's space for women together celebrating the feminine. There's a space for men together
Yes.
celebrating the masculine, and there's a space for all of us in groups mixed with the mixed male female gender, and that it becomes this opportunity. And what I think is interesting for me with you is that you literally put a flag in the ground and said, yeah, I'm going to stand for this.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting, with all the years, it made me think about, with an esthetician, you generally have women
Hmm.
who want to look better.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, I mean, let's own it. And so we kind of have this superficial thing. And what you're talking about is going deeper inside. And we can do the superficial, but what about the inside? And also, what I heard you talk about was the idea of the masculine coming through when you're a female business owner,
Yes.
and that you're trying to balance those now. And am I getting it right? Is that what
Yeah,
you're thinking?
absolutely. And I think sometimes that masculine comes through even if we're home parenting, because again, as women, yes, we're nurturers, but we also are still the doers. And that is, feminine is about receptivity, receiving. And I think that's hard for women.
That was, I'm writing that down because I totally agree. It was interesting when I learned many years ago in a lot of female kind of group gatherings, is that the feminine is the receiving.
Hmm.
Feminine is the receiving. And I would have argued with that. That
Well,
no,
let's
the
face it.
feminine is the giving. No, but the
Yeah.
masculine is the out, the feminine is the receiving in, and that we've been a little out of balance with that.
Yes, absolutely. And I see it all the time. And I was a victim of it, and I still am as an entrepreneur. But,
Yeah.
it's interesting because, I think that, and this is going to sound funny because I really believe that feminine fuel to me is leading our lives with beauty, first and
Mhm.
foremost. Lead with beauty. And that, of course, beauty is unique and individual to all of us. But if we put that into this question of how does that look in my life every day? Of
Mhm.
course, we can go into rituals and all those things that, we see, and, we can find those on Instagram. But I think it comes back to just pulling back to ourselves, finding those glimmers, those breadcrumbs
Mhm.
that feed us. I think pleasure and play allow for the nervous system to slow down
Mhm.
and give us that power of knowing and hearing and listening to our bodies say, oh, wait, I need more of that. I want more of that. And I heard a quote, I don't know who she is. I think it's Simone Weil Wheel. Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. And what
Wow.
I want is for us all to pull that back to ourselves first.
And I find that fascinating that you say that, because that makes me really think of our inner workings, and that you work on people's skin, you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
and that was that a process for you to move from like looking on the outside, like you're literally looking on the outside, to now like, and the outside comes from the inside, or that there's both going on? How did you get to this spot where you could go, oh, it's not just that?
It did. It happened in the treatment room, really watching clients just kind of melt into the bed, and let me touch them and let me heal them. I do know that our hands, your hands, all of our hands, have this amazing healing potential. But it did come from just seeing the softening of their face when they would leave the room. A great story. I have a elementary school teacher who came in for her regular appointment, and she had had a tough year, a tough classroom. And we're talking like second graders. So these are little guys.
Yeah.
And I walked out of the treatment room and I saw her on the couch, and immediately her body was just tense and
Yeah.
tight. And Kim, I thought she was angry with me.
Oh,
Like I had to check myself. Like I looked at the clock and I was like, okay, I'm on time. And I thought, wow, what's going on? And get her in the room and I got her on the bed and she shared a little bit about, just this tough year that she's having and no support. Um, but by the end of the facial, she came out and she was a different person. And yeah, I want to take some credit for it because it is a healing process. But at the same time, she had to make the appointment. She had to come in and see me. But, she just was able to just let it all go. And that's when a facial to me, is it's more than just an appointment or um, a maintenance or even self-care. It goes so much deeper. It's like I'm worth it. I
mhm.
need to rest. I mean, rest is in our birthright. We don't need to earn it.
Well, and also our face shows so much of what goes on outside of ourselves. If we smoke, if we drink, if we're puffy, if we've been flying the night before, if we stayed
Yes.
up the night before, if we haven't washed our face and like there are spots and things, like there's a lot of things that show up on our face that like we need some attention to it. And it's interesting because I think of the facial as as kind of like a very hedonistic isn't the very right word. That doesn't sound right. But the nurturing kind of thing of like you don't have to have it.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna die if you don't have it.
Yeah. Well,
And
when I started,
it does this clearing of the skin that is really beneficial in a lot of ways that that you literally can't see.
yeah, but I do think it's soul work too. I
Ah,
think
tell
it's
me
soul.
how is having a facial soul work?
Yeah,
Help me with that.
and I think, the story of the teacher, it resonates over and over again. Yes, they're paying money. Yes, they're, buying products. We can get to all that surface stuff, but at the end of the day, it is an opportunity to rest. And I still think as a culture, and I was thinking about why feminine fuel, why this movement, and the word sustainable was super important to me, Kim. And a lot of it is because the world is getting noisier. We're consuming more. We are overwhelmed with what's coming at us. There's the comparisons, there's the not enoughness. Of course, there's the hustle culture. And so for me, I like to look at patterns. And of
Mhm.
course, I always want clients to honor the seasons of their lives. And of course, you know, it's different. And I'm kind of in this season of the ordinary's calling me,
Mm.
yet I want more.
Hmm.
And I think we can honor both ambition and rest. And I'm starting to see that the more I incorporate pleasure and rest, my capacity for more, my world is expanding. It's almost like rest, I can go faster.
Yeah.
And so it is important. But I saw this word that came up that was so cool. And it came up in two different, one was a podcast, and then I read it in a book recently, and it was
Yeah.
just like, oh, they referenced that we need to rewilding.
Oh. Yeah.
And in sort of forestry and land, it means to kind of restore to its original form.
Yeah.
But we as humans need to start rewilding. We've got to go back and get into our bodies. And, a facial is one way to do it. And I don't think it's the only way. We can do it through massage, through any kind of body
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
But let's face it, our body is probably one of the most underutilized sources of wisdom.
So let me tell you, as you're talking, I'm just really fascinated with this idea of a facial and soul work. Like that, you really got me on like and so what I wrote down here is how do I put my face forward? And I
Mm.
met and it came to me like as a physical, how do I put my face forward? But metaphorically, how do I face forward, right? How
Mm.
do I move into that? And that's what I hear you talking about is that as we take care of ourselves, and I mean, literally you clean it up, you clean your face up
Yeah.
deeply, you
Yeah.
clean it up,
Yeah.
then we can face more. And it's actually it makes a lot of sense now that we're talking about it that it, once again, it can sound like it's just hedonistic, like, oh, it's just about if it, no, it's about being touched. It's about making space. It's about uh, cleaning up,
Yes.
cleaning up,
Yes.
because there's a lot of gunk that gets, I mean, I'm always surprised with the face, like how much gunk is like, and it cleans it up.
Yeah.
And then I feel, oh my gosh, I got to tell you, every time I come home from a facial, my husband says, "Oh, look at you. You have a new face." It's like, and he means that in a super positive, kind way. Like,
Sure.
just like, you're refreshed and
Yes.
you're going forward in a different way. And that's
Yeah.
literally what we do. So you're talking about it in terms of that, that kind of outward thing. I want to talk about because I think what's interesting, and I've known you long enough to know your progress that you moved into this group that you have called Girlfriends, Gatherings, and Getaways. And I think that is about the play part and the inner work part. Tell us what that is, and I think it's a template for lots of people that might want to do more of what you do in terms of these gatherings. So let everybody know what it is
Oh,
and kind of what
perfect.
your idea is about it.
Yes, thank you. So, a few years ago, I decided that I wanted to connect more with women. And I know that sounds funny because I'm dealing with women all day long, but I always felt like I do a lot of events, and the events were really about me having one-on-one connection that didn't disrupt their time when they were coming to see me. And, I just found that there was just a little too much chatting going on in the treatment room.
Mhm.
And I really wanted to create a better space so that they felt that their time was honored more. And so we started doing events. And then I just started feeling like, my clients just are like my girlfriends. And I wanted more time with them. And I knew that as an entrepreneur and as a woman who was way too in touch with her masculine side, the
Yes.
doing, the doing, the doing, that I had neglected adult friendships. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to start this. And so I started just a Facebook group called Girlfriends, Gatherings, and Getaways. I threw out a Paris trip that, I was shocked how many women wanted to go on. But it was more than just travel. It really was about connecting locally and just sharing like ideas and being curious about, like, okay, my husband might not want to do this. So, but maybe a girlfriend might. And so it really was this opportunity to just open up a vessel for women to just say, oh, I think I want to do that. And it's really kind of turned into this nice little gift. Of course, I would love to see more women participating, and I try and do little prompts and different things. Over the summer, I introduced a fun book called Tiny Experiments, and I just thought, we all need to kind of take our summers back. And I wanted to push women to get the bathing suit on and to get out on the paddle board or to do what they want to do. And I
Mhm.
still think there's layers to this. So there's this loneliness epidemic out there.
Yes.
And it, really escalated, of course, during COVID, but it's still there. And that was a motivation too, because I do love women and I do think it's so easy for us to gather and to enjoy each other. It's not so much the competition and also to just explore new hobbies and new interest and start to kind of get to know, to rewild myself at this season.
It's interesting because what I think of it as is an opportunity for women to gather. And what happens is that once we get out of school, we don't have ways to make friends. If where do we make friends at? Through our kids, through their school. Well, if the kids are done with school, or now mine's like a teenager and she's like off doing her own thing, um, it's uh not an opportunity to meet people and friendships, like people that you want to hang out with. You could do it at work. It's not always appropriate at work because there's all the chains of command and all the things, and that there really aren't opportunities. Like, where do women meet friends?
Yeah.
What I think you provide is that opportunity to get together to do something fun, that is really supportive of women. And it's like, I don't bring my husband. Like, he doesn't come because it's not that. Like, there
Yeah.
needs to be a place where women just gather just to be women together. And that's what I've loved about that group, is that that happens. And it's an opportunity to make friends and to be social when adult women, there aren't a lot of places to make that happen unless you connect it to work or your business. And like,
Yes.
I don't always want to talk about work or like, I just want to do something fun,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Well, and I mean, we know, about networking and about, working in that environment, but this just took all of that away. I mean, I had to, of course, place it underneath my business just for ease so I could communicate and, get stuff out. But it's just so nice to be able to just have it be a little bit more spontaneous, even though I try and plan some things. It's opened up some really fun doors for me, and it's allowed for me to also connect with people that I've wanted to connect with, that it didn't work out maybe for this, but oh, they're coming to mahjong night, or oh, she wants to lift weights with me. And so it's expanded my personal life, and it was what I was looking for, because we can only do so much with our families. We're home every night. We're
I don't want to. I
Yeah.
really want that, when I was younger, not married, I had a variety of people that I spent time with, and now it gets to be all about the family or all about the things, and I just want to have it be a little bit larger. And I think what I found interesting is watching you over this time do this group is that, you also get to go, these are the things I want to do. Who wants to go with me? Like, I don't want to do it by myself. Like, who wants to go along? And like, you've been really inviting that way in terms of, this is something I've been thinking about. Let's do it. Mahjong, right? You brought it
Yeah.
up. I go, Mahjong. That sounds really interesting. Okay, let's try it, right? Because you had this idea, and that, you actually have been brave. I think it's brave that you just open it up and go, I really want to do this. Who wants to come along? And
Well,
I
it
think
was a little
that's
more,
how you've been.
probably a little more selfish than anything, because I knew that, you know, we need to connect. And it
Mhm.
is one of my values. So we need to connect more. We need to be more open and receptive. And it's easy to stay safe. It's easy to stay home. It's easy to get on Netflix. I mean, again, we are an avoidance culture. And I'm doing it too. I'm on my phone too much. I'm
Yeah.
on Netflix too much. And so I just think that we need a buddy system. We need partners in crime. And I think we kind of need to get a little full of ourselves, Kim. I mean, like literally in a good way. I know that
Yeah.
saying has been very tied to the negative, like you're so full of yourself. Like I remember my mom telling me that when I got a little too crazy with my imagination. But I kind of feel like in order to live a full life,
Mhm.
which I haven't done, I have literally been this workaholic
Yeah.
and used personal growth to keep consuming. Now I'm like, how can I live better, live fuller? And I have to kind of get a little full of myself.
It's interesting. It does tie back to what you said earlier about being way too much into that kind of consumerism culture, also that culture of on the phone or watching TV, or this is my only way to decompress. And I actually was I last weekend, I on Monday I woke up and I go, dang, knowing I feel good. And I thought, why am I had a very full weekend. What in the heck was it that made me feel so full of life on that Monday
Mm.
morning? And I look back over the weekend, I go, I literally spent this weekend with different groups of people that fed me.
Oh,
I didn't feel drained. And I thought, yes, please, more of them.
I
Yes,
love
please,
that.
more of them. I want to be with them more often. And it really made me think about who are the people that I hang out with sometimes that I feel low energy or it feels draining or it's like a lot of work. And all the people I hung out with were high vibration, high minded, and I just felt this soul connection, right? And I thought, oh, isn't that interesting? Like, I feel more energized when I hang out with them.
Yeah.
So that made me
Well,
think this weekend. So literally, I'm going to Mahjong tonight with Janelle.
yay.
And I thought, who this weekend can I hang out with? Who am I going to hang out with that will feed me? And that was one of the things I thought about the girlfriends gatherings and getaways is like, I feel fed when I go there and when I talk with everybody and just do something fun and spontaneous.
Well,
So
environment is
it's
huge.
really important. So, what kind of things leading into like what are your favorite tools, practices, things that you do for yourself that you really, I mean, you literally are at the table with people with their face, but also like their inner soul. Like, what do you find works?
Well, I think as a bear coach, even though I don't incorporate a lot of it, bear is very specific to 7 areas like mindset, your environment, style, moving your body, and it's a wonderful program. It's a 7-week program. But what I've noticed over the years is that I've really honed it down to 3 areas.
Oh,
Obviously, mindset. I mean, we have to have,
that.
you know, we have to have thoughts that are high vibrational. We have to be able to remind ourselves and check in with how we're thinking. I love Brooke Castillo's work and her model. That's probably one of my biggest go-tos. But I think environment, like what you were sharing, I love that you pinpointed who you hung out with and how it felt. Environment shapes us. It is everything. And, let's face it, some of us are in dull environments that aren't feeding us, and we have to spot those. Clothes, style. You and I talk a lot about this, Kim. I think we have fun with this.
We went shopping together as one of our little gatherings. We went
Yeah.
to a high-end uh, consignment store. Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
so
fun,
fun.
so fun. But it's huge because it allows for us to walk in the world and share who we are in such a unique way. I think my favorite thing that I'm using right now as a tool is looking at the different categories of rest and play and kind of like, I mean, there's like 9 types of rest, and there's several types, categories of pleasure, and it's looking at where I'm kind of lacking,
Mm.
where am I a little deficit? And if I can look at that, like with pleasure, it's intellectual, which I'm always doing that. Comfort, luxury, there's music, of course, intimate, sexual, beauty is another one, and rest. And it really was interesting because even though I'm in a treatment room, music is really calling to me right now because I'm always listening to spa music. And I'm
Ah,
like, I want some upbeat, fun, like I want to blare the radio and like I'm a teenager.
yeah.
So I think that's a fun way to just start because it can get so overwhelming again to look at all the tools that are out there. Um, I also love what I call the 3 Ds, and it's depth in the daily details. There is so much richness and power in, again, kind of going back to where I'm the season of the ordinary calling me. I'm looking at these little daily things, whether it's brushing my teeth or doing a skincare routine or just preparing a meal. I'm looking at it and I'm taking it a little deeper. I'm looking at how can I elevate this one little thing?
Hmm.
And it's simple, yet we can kind of get bogged down in overthinking about it because women are overthinkers. But, just something as little as instead of slicing up a tomato, like actually going out and getting the basil and adding a little bit of the sea salt, it just elevates it. And of course, it's tomato season. Um, but just with everything, and it's going to sound funny, but I'm a big advocate for choosing a word of the year every year.
Okay.
I love that.
Yes.
And I think it goes deeper than just picking a word that sounds good. Like I really dive into it. And actually, in January, I'm going to offer a workshop because I have a really great way to kind of dive in. And so this year, I like literally dove into my word, which was vitality.
Ooh,
And
wow.
I saw this silly,
It's a
silly
$10
thing
word.
on Instagram where this woman was, it's called fridge scaping, where she literally kind of decorated the inside of her fridge. Now, bear with me, stay with me here.
Okay,
It
I'm here.
sounds crazy, but if you like watch these photos, they just were delightful and they just had this energy. And I'm watching, and of course, the first thought was, this is ridiculous. This is so silly. I mean, she literally put like a little figurine in her refrigerator, and then she started to like decorate it for each theme. And I love a theme. And I just thought how silly it is. But with vitality being my word, I started to like color code my glass fruit that I cut up. Instead of just storing my mint in the drawer, I put it in a pretty glass with water. So every time I open up my fridge, and I just, I took each area of my life and I'm like, how can I make it more full of vitality? And it was just the funnest thing. I'm 61, but it was so silly. But I tell you, it was one of the positive things that can come from social media and Pinterest is just these little glimmers, these little breadcrumbs that speak to you, that cue you
Mhm.
to, wait a minute, that's kind of fun. And let me
Yeah.
tell you, Kim, it's working. My diet is so clean
Yeah.
and it's not perfect. I mean,
But it's pretty food, it's tasty food, it's mindful food, it's putting it on the plate in a way that's on a pretty plate that looks good.
yeah,
All those things. It's interesting how it's, we can engage and think like, what is it I want to embody?
yeah,
Literally and figure like what is it? And you're talking about depth daily details. And so like, okay, that's it. But I also like mindset, environment, pleasure, beauty. Like, okay, and then how's that? And then this all just manifested where I'm gonna decorate my refrigerator. Like, and I'm gonna wow,
yeah,
that's actually, so it's really following through on kind of what is my intention, my values maybe,
yeah,
like, and
yeah,
that's what do I want to embody? How do I want to be? And then we open our mind to it and then it shows up. You make me think it's like my word of the year this year was yes. Yes to the
oh,
yes. Yes to the yes. Because last year it was no. No to the no.
I love it.
Anything that was a no, it was like I wasn't doing it if I didn't want to. This year was a yes, and you made me think like, well, actually, the weekend where I came away and I go, uh, all the people were yeses.
Mm,
Everybody I saw was a heck yes. So
I
it's
love
like,
that.
what's your value? What's your intention? And are you actually in your the depth of daily details? Like, am I actually doing that today? And really getting back into that
Yeah,
and just
yeah.
exploring it because it'll take you to Pinterest to decorating
Fridgescaping.
your fridge. Escaping. Who knew?
I mean, I even took a picture of my refrigerator because it just delighted me. Like, oh, I should, and I never ended up posting it, but
I haven't seen it, so like now I'm
yeah,
gonna have to
this
look.
the silliness of it all. But yeah, I think, really, Kim, just to kind of pull it back in. I know it can be silly, but life needs to be silly. It does go back to being full of life and to being full of ourselves. But, there's nothing outside of us, that we need. It is all here. But I think that these silly basics that I've shared are just these great reminders that life doesn't need to be dull, that life can be really simple,
Yeah.
and that we can have it all, and we can achieve our goals and do all the things that we want to do. But we've got to slow down and start to savor. And going back to even feminine and leading with beauty, to me, it's been fun to just even look at wordplay, like sauntering instead of hustling. Like, how does that even feel to say it? Or flirting with my days. Of course, I want to flirt with my husband, I want to flirt with life, but it's
Yeah.
like, it really can be that simple, but we get caught up in these words of like working out, being disciplined. How about devotion or, a privilege instead of punishment? I mean, I'm really looking at those because I think we get really caught up in our words too. And again, like I shared at the beginning, this is so imperfect and we're messy. We're messy humans. But there are so many fun things out there to just make life so rich.
You make me, so
Bridge
the last
shaping.
question, that's so funny. You've said so much, you've had so many, like I've been writing down all these things. I've been writing them down. Um, so one of the things I always like to ask my guests at the end, and I forgot to tell you I do this. Um, Jenell, how do you feed your soul?
Hmm. Slow mornings,
Mm,
nature, you know, um, moving my body. Oh my gosh, so many years of being sedentary just because of life, moving my body. I love pickleball.
mhm.
Um, my grandchildren, journaling, we have to have that quiet space. And I'm working on that emotional mastery and kind of tapping into some of those things that, again, we think of procrastination as this evil word in our society, but I'm kind of looking at it like, wow, where's the healing in this? Why am I avoiding this? Let me look at this a little differently. And that feeds my soul because it allows for me to look at my own triggers and and I think emotional mastery is so vital right now too. But yeah,
Wow.
all those
That
things.
is extraordinary. My gosh, I have gotten so much out of listening to you, and
Oh,
I'm sure our listeners are going to just have tons of things to say about this. Where can people find you? Let them make sure that they can get a hold of you, Janelle.
definitely go into Facebook and look up girlfriends, gatherings, and getaways. That's the place that I have the most fun. Um, and if you're not on Facebook, you can go to janellegarcia.com
Okay.
and just,
I will
yeah.
put those up for people to just click and do that. I really recommend you guys join with Janelle. She has she embraces beauty in a way that is so enlivening to me. So you can't see behind her, but she's got wallpaper behind her. Her office, her what do you call studio is gorgeous,
Oh,
and
thank you.
she really does enliven life. Janelle, thank you so much for being with
Oh,
us.
thank
I
you.
appreciate the heck out of you, and I'm so glad we got to do this and that we get to introduce you into a bigger audience. So thank you so much for all that you
Thank you.
shared today. Thank you.
Oh.
Bye, you guys. Thank you for showing up to the Feed Your Soul with Kim podcast. We look forward to talking with you soon. Bye.